Hey guys, today I thought I would talk about something which I think about a lot, which I zigzag between a lot. So this is a guitar technique that I personally haven't settled on a decision yet, the best way to do it, or my favorite way to do it, or my main way to do it. I alternate between the two main ways I'm going to show you here. As with all my lessons, they are a guideline, they are a suggestion, they are me sharing something that I've learnt through my practice and my playing. But I'm not saying what I say is the best way to do something. I'm just saying here's an option, include that option with all the other options that you learn from all the other sources that are available, and improve your guitar playing. That's what it's all about, improving your playing, not copying my playing or anything like that, improving your playing. So we're going to talk about playing kind of lead guitar in the Spanish style, so finger picking with the fingers. See, in my band Khalid, I'd usually use a pick. But in flamenco guitar, the plectrum is definitely a no-no in a lot of Spanish styles. And so there are two main ways, I think, to play with your fingers without a pick. Let me briefly show you and explain why I use some of them sometimes, and the, in my opinion, strengths and weaknesses of both. One of them is the big thumb. Thumb is the biggest and strongest finger, so you can get a nice round, powerful sound. And when I'm using the thumb, it's important that, for example, here I'm striking the D string, I'm fretting the second fret of the D string. The note's not so important. What's important is that when I strike that string, my thumb goes and sits on the next string. So I don't just pluck it into thin air. Here, see, I'm plucking into thin air. No, when I do it correctly, the thumb rests on the next string. So that can be a really great technique for getting a nice, rich, round, powerful sound. You can even do it on the high string, and the thumb just kind of rests on the body of the guitar there. So once again, I think it's a bit of a no-no to strum into thin air. Not that you can't, but your sound will be less powerful. I find it quite physically exhausting as well. But if you're just hitting, if you're resting on the next string, you can get a really nice sound with your thumb. So that's option number one. Option number two is something, it's a funny story. I went to Spain to learn some flamenco guitar. It's about 9 or 10 years ago now. And I went to Sevilla, which was a great place, and I saw a whole bunch of really cool stuff, which inspired and educated me. And then on my way home, I went to Barcelona, and I saw a flamenco show there. This was more like in Barcelona, it was more like a kind of, you might say, a touristy flamenco show where you'd pay for a ticket and get dinner, and it was in quite a nice theatre in town, and the artists were all dressed up and stuff. So it was a bit more commercial, a bit more show busy, a bit more flashy, but top quality music as well. And I was so blown away by this show that I thought maybe I can meet the group, get some guitar instructions or something. So I noticed after the show, they all kind of went to this back room, which was like a bar kind of thing. And I mustered up the courage to kind of go in there, and I just kind of was loitering around and observing for a while. Anyway, long story short, one of them noticed me watching, and I explained in my horrible Spanish, I'm a guitarist, I'm here to learn. And the joke that they played on me was that I had to scull a carafe of white wine that they were drinking, and I hate alcohol, I don't drink alcohol. And it was like, if you scull this, we'll teach you some guitar. So I did. And I was feeling very ill in my stomach and very unwell and a bit drunk. And that was the state I was in when I learnt some of this guitar stuff. So that guy, there was one really, there was about 3 guitarists there. One of them was really flashy and like a ponytail pulled back, very kind of arrogant and proud looking, like a bullfighter or something like that. Pretty much exactly what you want from a hotshot flamenco guitarist. And the way that he was playing and showed me to play was with the 2 fingers. I've taught this to you before on this channel. I call it the running man, the 2 fingers, because I imagine they're like a little guy running, like when you're in school running. The advantage of this running man fingers, as I like to call it, is quite clearly that you can get up to very high speeds. Now, I'm not particularly fast at doing this. I guess I'm not particularly slow either, but I've seen people absolutely fly with lightning speed doing this. I suppose I put my hours of practice into my plectrum playing, because that's my main style when I'm with my group. Now the disadvantage of this versus the thumb technique, I think, is the thumb technique is much louder and stronger. But you can get a nice loudness with the fingers. I almost always just use 2 fingers. You can use 3. That's a bit messy from me, that's shocking, but you can do 3 fingers. Some people do like a kind of triplet kind of thing. But I generally use 2. When I'm doing any kind of lead kind of thing. And one thing I find myself doing more and more, and this is something probably in the last year or so I've really actually embraced. I used to, if I'd find myself veering from orthodox technique or how I was meant to be playing, I would force myself to practice back towards a more orthodox technique. These days, if I find myself unwittingly doing something that might not be technically correct, if it's been developed by my subconscious through playing, I'll allow myself to do it and actually encourage myself to do it. One of the things I find myself doing more and more is playing with 1 finger. So in that little lick there, I started with 2. In those ones where I'm playing a single note many times, the same note over and over, I'm playing with 1 finger. Once again, the finger. Now in this case, when we did the thumb, we'd strike downwards and rest on the next string. In this case, I'm striking upwards and still resting on the next string, but the string is closer to the body. So, I hope I didn't waffle too much, and I hope that I gave you some basic insight into the thumb technique and the finger technique. I would encourage you to get familiar with both and see which one you prefer and which one you don't. I would encourage you to incorporate both into your playing. And above all, as always, the thing I most encourage you to do is develop your own style of playing. Find the thing that really resonates with you, that sounds good when you play it, that you enjoy to play. And rather than be a mimic of myself or any other guitarist in the world, find your own sound. It's the most wonderfully rewarding and interesting and joyful experience as you progress in your playing. So thank you for watching. See you next time.